Welcome to my channel. This is a place where I tell stories that are scary, creepy, and sometimes a little bit true. It was 2019 when the world felt like it was still yours to explore. Social media was the platform and travel vloggers were all the rage. So when my friend Theo found out about this remote rural town that apparently emptied out every single night, at exactly 6 o'clock, he decided to go there and find out why. The trouble with traveling to these kinds of places is that they're usually pretty hard to find. But after scouring the internet, Theo finally found the place. It was called Silent Town, and it was in the middle of nowhere. In fact, the only way to get there was by driving down a dirt road so long and narrow that you couldn't turn around and had to do it in one take. And right at the end of the road, just before it ended at the town, there was a sign that said, "Road closed. Do not enter after dark." Well, of course, that meant that Theo had to go there after dark. He set off in his beat-up old pickup truck with his camera crew in tow, and he hit record on his camera as he started the journey. They drove for hours on winding roads through thick forest. The only sounds were the wind in the trees and the crickets in the fields. And as they got closer to their destination, the clouds grew darker and the sky became overcast. Soon it was too dark to see anything except for the headlights of the car cutting through the heavy gloom. But the GPS said they were close, so they kept going. Then suddenly, right in front of them, the road ended and there was a tall wooden gate blocking their way forward. The sign warned that vehicles over 8 feet tall would not clear the gate. But Theo's truck was only about 6 foot. So he thought he should be fine. He slowly drove forward. The truck's tires crunched on the gravel, its engine rumbling like a beast, awakening from a slumber. As it passed under the gate, the sound of scraping metal echoed in the stillness of the night. But once they were through, there was nothing but darkness ahead. Then they saw a light up in the distance, flickering like a lonely firefly in the vast black canvas above. It wasn't on the map, but it gave them hope that they were almost there. As they drove towards the light, they could hear voices and laughter echoing in the air, a sound that seemed almost otherworldly in the oppressive darkness. The closer they got, the more the sound grew, until it was almost deafening. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The only sound now was the pounding of their own hearts in their chests. And then they saw it, a small cluster of houses huddled together in the darkness like frightened animals. There was a street lamp in the center of town, but it was broken and didn't work. The only light came from the windows of the houses, warm and inviting, yet somehow sinister in the darkness. Theo pulled his truck over and turned off the engine. He looked at his camera and whispered, "Well, here we are." And then he stepped out of the truck and walked into the deserted town. No one answered. He knocked on the door of the nearest house and waited, but no one came. It was like the town had been abandoned. He wandered through the empty streets, his footsteps echoing in the stillness. The houses were old and dilapidated, their paint peeling, and their window panes shattered. The silence was heavy, oppressive, as if the town itself was holding its breath. He walked past a rusty old swing set in what looked like a deserted playground and continued on. And then he saw something that made him stop. In the center of the town square was a large clock tower. Its face was covered in shadows, but the hands pointed to exactly 6 o'clock. Theo stared at the clock, his heart sinking in his chest. What was this town's strange secret? Why did everyone disappear at exactly 6 o'clock? He wanted to leave, but he was curious. And besides, he thought, how bad could it be? It was only 5:50. He sat down on a nearby bench and waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Still no one appeared. Theo was starting to get scared. Where was everyone? Had they been followed? Was there something dangerous lurking in the darkness that he didn't know about? Suddenly a loud creaking sound echoed in the air. Theo jumped, his eyes darting around wildly. What was that? The clock tower chimed 6 times, each chime echoing ominously in the stillness. And then the lights in the houses went out one by one, plunging the town into total darkness. The wind picked up, swirling around him, whispering secrets in a language he couldn't understand. The trees in the distance swayed eerily, their branches clawing at the sky like desperate souls. And then he heard it again, that horrible creaking sound. Something was coming. Theo scrambled back, his eyes straining to see through the gloom. A shape began to emerge from the darkness. Tall and thin, it seemed to glide effortlessly through the shadows, its edges blurred and indistinct. It was like looking at a half-remembered dream. Theo stumbled back, knocking over the bench. The noise echoed in the darkness. The creature froze, and then it began to move again, slowly at first, and then faster. It was coming towards him, and he could feel its eyes boring into him. Panic surged through him. He had to get away. He ran through the town, his breath ragged in his throat. The creature behind him was making a horrible screeching sound, and Theo could feel its presence closing in on him. He dared not look back. He could hear the sound of its footsteps pounding on the pavement behind him, getting closer. He ran until his lungs were burning and his legs were leaden. He didn't know where he was going, but he couldn't stop. Not when he heard the creature gaining on him, its voice echoing in his ears. Then he saw it. At the end of the road was the tall wooden gate. He reached it and pushed it open, staggering through in his haste. As he stumbled out of the town, he turned back to look at Silent Town. The moon had risen higher in the sky now, and in the pale light he could see the town square. The clock tower loomed over the square like a skeletal finger pointing accusingly at the sky. And in the center of the square he could see the bench he'd been sitting on. But something was different. In the moonlight he could see that it wasn't a bench at all. It was a stone altar. And in the center of it was a circle, as if something had been sitting there, waiting for him. Suddenly Theo understood. This place wasn't just a town. It was a portal, a gateway to somewhere else, and whatever was on the other side was hungry. He could hear the creature behind him, its voice a mixture of growls and whispers. And then it was upon him, its cold, clammy touch sending shivers down his spine. He screamed, scrambling backwards, but there was nowhere to go. The creature loomed over him, its eyes boring into his, and he knew he was finished. Its touch was icy cold, like touching a corpse. And then he felt himself being pulled, dragged down into the darkness. The last thing he saw was the creature's face, twisted into a grotesque grin, and then everything went black. When the sun rose the next morning, the gate to Silent Town was gone. The road was empty, and there was no sign of Theo or his camera crew anywhere. As the day wore on, more and more cars arrived at the deserted town, each one carrying another group of unlucky travelers who had heard rumors of the strange town and wanted to see for themselves, but none of them ever came back. One by one, they vanished into the darkness, becoming part of the town's terrible secret. For anyone who stumbles upon Silent Town after dark, They say the only way out is death. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell because I put out new videos every single week. And if you want to hear more creepy stories, check out the playlist in the description. Until next time.